Have you ever found yourself getting easily irritated, complaining about everything, or constantly trying to pick apart other people's flaws? Or are there times when you feel you must push yourself, constantly trying to prove you're the best and most talented in every race? And then, are there other days when you feel tiny, shy, always worried, insecure, feeling like you're not good enough or deserving of good things? Perhaps you want to withdraw, avoid social gatherings and activities, and prefer to be alone in your little world. If you've experienced one or more of these feelings, don't worry, you are definitely not alone. It's highly likely that deep down inside, something called an inferiority feeling exists within us. Sounds negative, doesn't it? But would you believe it if I told you that this feeling of inferiority, if understood and transformed correctly, could be the starting point for a journey towards becoming superior, a better version of yourself? Sounds like a paradox, right? How can inferiority lead to superiority? Hi everyone, welcome to BookSmart Insights, a channel for sharing knowledge for personal development through good books. Today, we're going to delve into the pages of a masterpiece of psychology, a book that might be challenging but holds golden keys to understanding ourselves and discovering the true meaning of life. That book is What Life Should Mean to You by Austrian psychologist Alfred Adler. Many people who look up this book on forums like Goodreads or book review sites often comment that it's a profound, awakening work, but also quite academic, requiring concentration and contemplation. That's true. It's not a quick self-help read, but I believe that as we peel back the layers of meaning together, you'll have a chance to meet your true self, understand the roots of negative emotions, and, most importantly, find the path to turn inferiority into motivation to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. So, brew a cup of tea, find a quiet corner, and explore the psychological secrets Alfred Adler wanted to share with us here on BookSmart Insights. Before diving deep into the book's content, I think knowing a little about the author, Alfred Adler, is helpful. Why are his ideas so important and influential? Alfred Adler, born 1870, died 1937, was an Austrian medical doctor and psychotherapist. He's often mentioned alongside Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung as one of the three pillars that laid the foundation for modern psychology. Initially, Adler was a core member of Freud's psychoanalytic circle, the Freud we often associate with theories about the unconscious, dreams, and the influence of repressed desires. However, the deeper Adler studied, the more he found points of disagreement with Freud, particularly Freud's heavy emphasis on sexual instincts and childhood traumas as the determining factors for one's entire adult life. Adler felt this view was somewhat pessimistic and overlooked the individual's active role, so Adler decided to forge his own path, breaking away from Freud and developing his own school of thought called individual psychology. Don't be mistaken by the name. Individual here doesn't mean selfish or self-centered. It emphasizes the wholeness, the indivisibility of a person. Adler believed we need to see humans as integrated wholes, not just collections of separate parts or instincts. A crucially different and fascinating aspect of Adler's thought is his rejection of the idea that the past completely dictates the future. Instead, he emphasized teleology, the idea that our actions are not just pushed by causes in the past, as Freud thought, but also pulled by the goals and meanings we strive for in the future. How we interpret our past experiences and the goals we set are the key factors shaping our lives. Let's take a simple example. Imagine two people experiencing a difficult, impoverished childhood. From a more deterministic viewpoint, they might be expected to grow up with psychological issues, perhaps heading down the wrong path. However, according to Adler, they could interpret that past as motivation to rise above it, set a goal to help others in similar situations, and become successful, contributing members of society. The meaning they assign to the experience and the goal they aim for truly matters. See, Adler's perspective offers much more hope and empowers individuals significantly. We are not helpless victims of our past. Interestingly, Adler's own life is powerful evidence for his theories. Born into a Jewish family in a suburb of Vienna, he was not a healthy child. He suffered from rickets as a boy, had difficulty walking, was short in stature, and nearly died twice from severe pneumonia. Compared to his healthy, intelligent, seemingly perfect older brother, Adler felt inferior and inadequate. He wasn't a great student either, often ranking near the bottom of his class. He even witnessed the death of his younger brother when he was just 4 and was run over by carts twice. Quite a childhood, filled with hardship and feelings of inadequacy, wouldn't you say? According to conventional theories, a child enduring such trauma might very well face a troubled adulthood. But not Adler. His experiences with illness and weakness in childhood fueled his determination to become a doctor, initially aiming to help children facing similar circumstances. And so, driven by his feelings of inferiority, he relentlessly strove, persevered, and became a doctor and a globally influential psychologist. His life is a living example of the core thesis we're about to explore. Feelings of inferiority are not the end. They can be the beginning of an extraordinary ascent. Let's get into the book's central concept, feelings of inferiority. When we hear the word inferiority, the natural reaction for many is to feel it's negative, shameful, something to be hidden away. We often cling tightly to what we feel we lack compared to others. Maybe it's our appearance, height, family background, education level, job title, income. We hide these perceived flaws in the shadows, constantly afraid others will see our weaknesses. But Adler tells us, all of us, without exception, carry feelings of inferiority to some degree. It's completely normal, a fundamental part of the human experience. Why? Because from the moment we are born, we are in complete dependence, weak and small compared to the vast world and the people around us. That initial feeling of smallness and helplessness is the primal root of the feeling of inferiority. Adler didn't view this feeling of inferiority as pathological or wrong. On the contrary, he saw it as the fundamental driving force behind human development and progress. It's precisely because we feel not enough that we have the desire to strive, to learn, to train, to improve ourselves, to become better, stronger, more superior, in the sense of moving towards completion or perfection. Adler called this the striving for superiority perfection. Think about it. If we were born perfect, knowing everything, absolutely powerful, would we have any motivation to learn a new skill, read a book, try hard at work, or build better relationships? Probably not. The feeling that I'm lacking something ignites us into action. As the great poet Goethe once said, though the quote is often interpreted broadly, nature locks man in darkness and forces him forever to thirst for light. The yearning to overcome feelings of inadequacy is the driving force that pushes us toward the light of growth and self-improvement. Adler even went further, suggesting that all human civilization was built and developed upon collective feelings of inferiority and the effort to overcome them. Humans felt weak against nature, so they invented tools and built shelters. They felt limited in strength, so they created machines. They felt constrained by distance, so they invented means of transport. It all stems from recognizing inadequacy and striving to compensate. So the first and essential message Adler wants us to grasp is, don't be ashamed of your feelings of inferiority. Accept them as a natural part of being human. However, problems arise when we mishandle this feeling of inferiority, when it becomes excessive, distorted, or when we choose the wrong path to compensate for it. It transforms into what Adler termed an inferiority complex. This is what causes trouble. So what's the difference between the feeling of inferiority, normal, motivating, and the inferiority complex, abnormal, harmful? Someone with a healthy feeling of inferiority acknowledges their weak points and proactively takes action to improve. For example, my communication skills aren't great. I need to read books and take a course to improve. They focus on solutions and self-development. Conversely, someone trapped in an inferiority complex often feels paralyzed by that feeling. They might blame circumstances or others. I'm not successful because my parents weren't rich. I did poorly in school because the teachers were bad. Life is unfair to me. They use blame as an excuse to avoid responsibility and the effort needed for change. They twist the feeling of not measuring up into a sense of being unfairly disadvantaged. Withdraw and avoid challenges. Afraid of failure and judgment, they shy away from social activities, don't dare to try new things, and don't dare to set high goals. They choose to live in their small, safe comfort zone. Compare themselves negatively to others, constantly looking at others' successes and feeling inadequate and miserable. They don't focus on their journey, but perpetually look at their neighbor's lawn. Exhibit psychological symptoms: frequent anger, anxiety, disappointment, hostility, insomnia, or even depression. Therefore, a feeling of inferiority is normal, even necessary. But an inferiority complex is what destroys you. It derails you from the path of healthy development. Hearing this, you might think, okay, so I just need to avoid the inferiority complex. However, Adler pointed out another psychological trap. This manifestation seems the opposite, but actually shares the same root as the inferiority complex. This is the superiority complex. Some people appear extremely confident on the surface, perhaps even arrogant. They constantly boast about themselves, exaggerate their achievements, and act as if they are superior and know better than everyone else. They enjoy criticizing and belittling others to elevate themselves. They always want to be the center of attention, craving recognition. It sounds like they're very self-assured, but Adler argued that a deep-seated inferiority complex often lies behind this glittering facade. It's precisely because they feel weak, helpless, or fear being looked down upon inside that they must put on a front, constructing a false shell of superiority to hide their true feelings. Acting superior is just a way for them to temporarily soothe the insecurity and feelings of inadequacy gnawing at them from within. Imagine someone constantly bragging about their expensive car or designer possessions. Deep down, they might feel insecure about their intrinsic worth and need external things to try and prove, I have value too. Or someone who always finds ways to undermine or criticize colleagues. Perhaps they feel threatened by others' competence and use criticism as a way to feel safer. Adler likened the inferiority and superiority complex to two sides of the same coin. They often coexist and overlap. A person might shrink in inadequacy one moment and then puff themselves up with arrogance the next. Both are distorted expressions of the attempt to compensate for the initial feeling of inferiority. The writer C.S. Lewis made a profound point, though not directly about Adler, that perfectly captures this spirit. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. Truly confident and superior individuals don't need to constantly prove themselves or put others down. they focus on self-development and contributing value. Those stuck in a complex, whether inferiority or superiority, are perpetually obsessed with who am I in the eyes of others. Therefore, we must be very careful and aware to recognize both types of complexes in ourselves and those around us. Recognizing them is the crucial first step toward adjusting and finding the right path for growth. Try asking yourself honestly, do I often blame circumstances? Do I often avoid challenges for fear of failure? Do I feel upset or envious when others succeed? Do I feel the need to always prove I'm right or capable? Do I frequently criticize or judge others? If the answer is yes to some of these, don't panic. As Adler suggested, everyone experiences these things sometimes. The key is awareness and the conscious effort to adjust. So why can some people, like Adler himself, turn feelings of inferiority into a driving force for achievement, while others get stuck in inferiority or superiority complexes? Adler believed that the roots of these complexes are often formed very early in our first years of life. He identified 3 specific childhood circumstances that make it particularly likely for a child to develop unhealthy ways of dealing with inferiority feelings and struggle with developing cooperative skills later on. 1. Children born with physical imperfections, organ inferiority. These might be children with congenital disabilities, physical weaknesses, illnesses, or bodily imperfections. Experiences of being different and physically weaker than peers can make them feel isolated and separate from the world. They might become overly focused on their defect, feeling the world is daunting and difficult. This can easily lead them to withdraw excessively, become overly introverted, or conversely, become extremely ambitious in a negative way to compensate for the defect, but lacking healthy connection and cooperation with others. 2. Pampered children. Sounds strange, right? How can being loved and pampered cause problems? Adler explained that children whose every demand is met easily, who are treated as the center of the universe from a young age, don't learn how to exert effort to achieve things. They get used to receiving without needing to give. They might develop the belief that the world exists to serve them. When they grow up and enter the real world, where not everyone pampers them and meets their every desire, they experience shock, disappointment, and helplessness. They haven't learned how to cooperate with others to achieve shared goals because from childhood, they were accustomed to others having to cooperate with their wishes. When facing difficulties, they easily feel victimized or demand that others solve their problems. They lack independence and the skills to face challenges. Neglected children. These children grow up lacking affection and not receiving adequate attention, care, and love from parents or caregivers. Perhaps the parents were too busy, cold, or had issues. In the eyes of these children, the world appears cold, untrustworthy, and hostile. They lack the opportunity to experience basic love and cooperation within the family. Growing up, they might carry the belief that they must fight, compete, and even use manipulation to survive and get what they want. They struggle to trust others, build close relationships, and find cooperation difficult. They might become deeply insecure or appear extremely tough and overly independent as a defense mechanism. Do you see the common thread among these 3 groups? Adler pointed out that it's a deficiency or distortion in learning how to cooperate and developing an interest in the welfare of others, social interest. They haven't learned how to connect healthily with the world and the people around them. When they grow up and face life's challenges, if their subjective perception leads them down the wrong path in their effort to compensate for inferiority, e.g., focusing only on themselves, seeking superiority by putting others down, or completely avoiding challenges, they fall into the spiral of inferiority or superiority complexes, leading to isolation, unhealthy competition, and even causing harm to themselves and others. Conversely, if the compensatory effort follows the right direction towards cooperation and contribution to the community, the person will truly become superior in a positive way. So what is the right direction here? How do we overcome inferiority and achieve genuine excellence? This is the most crucial key Adler wants to give us. Adler stated emphatically, all the significant problems of human life are fundamentally problems of cooperation. A person living with an inferiority or superiority complex is essentially someone who doesn't know how to cooperate healthily with others and with life itself. They are either too focused on themselves, whether self-deprecating or self-aggrandizing, or view the world through the lens of competition and threat, rather than as an opportunity for connection and mutual growth. So where's the way out? Adler's answer lies in two golden concepts: cooperation and social interest. Adler believed that humans are inherently social beings. We cannot survive and thrive in complete isolation. True happiness and meaning in life can only be found when we feel we belong and contribute value to a community. He argued that to overcome inferiority healthily and achieve genuine superiority, we need to shift our focus from the selfish ego towards caring for and contributing to the welfare of others in society. Why is this effective? Reduces self-focus. When we direct our attention and efforts toward helping others or solving a common problem, we have less time and energy to dwell on our shortcomings. Feelings of inadequacy gradually get replaced by a sense of usefulness and value creation. Enhances connection. Cooperation and contribution help us build meaningful relationships, feeling part of something larger than ourselves. This sense of belonging is a fundamental human psychological need, combating the loneliness and isolation often associated with inferiority complexes. Develops real skills and confidence. Participating in shared activities gives us opportunities to learn, practice skills, face challenges, and overcome them. Each small success in cooperating and contributing builds genuine inner confidence, not the false confidence of a superiority complex. Finds meaning and purpose. Adler suggested that life's meaning isn't something pre-existing for us to discover, but something we create through our contributions. When we do something useful for others and for the community, we feel our lives have purpose and value. Adler defined a truly meaningful life. That meaning is recognized by others as valuable and can be shared. It's not a selfish meaning existing only in our heads, but one that benefits others and can ripple outwards. Whatever job you do, doctor, teacher, engineer, artist, homemaker, worker, or entrepreneur, if you can find the connection between your work and helping others or society, you'll feel a much greater sense of meaning and motivation. A doctor doesn't just treat illness, but brings health and joy to patients and their families. A teacher doesn't just teach subjects, but helps shape the future generation. A homemaker doesn't just cook and clean, but builds a loving home, nurturing family members. Conversely, suppose you live only for personal gain. In that case, no matter how much money you make or how high your status is, you might still feel empty, lonely, and insecure because you lack connection and community feeling. It's like Confucius taught, the man of virtue has no anxieties. Those who know how to live for others, cooperate, and care for the community often find inner peace and happiness. There's a very profound and potentially controversial point in Adler's concept of social interest. It's not limited just to the people immediately around us or the society we live in. Adler looked further. He proposed that the ideal social interest encompasses a concern for all of humanity, for the earth, for all life, and even for the entire cosmos. It's a sense of connection with something bigger than ourselves. Sounds abstract and grand, doesn't it? However, the core idea is that the ultimate purpose of human life is to transcend the small self, the ego, and dedicate oneself to a larger goal or ideal. Only then do we truly feel we belong and that our existence has the deepest meaning. It's both a basic desire and the ultimate goal, to return to unity, to the source. So how do we begin the journey of developing social interest and cooperation skills? Start small. Pay attention to the people around you, family, friends, colleagues. Listen to them and help when you can. Join group activities. Find clubs, teams, and volunteer organizations that share your interests or goals. Find social meaning in your work. Think about how your job contributes to others or society. How can you better fulfill that role? Expand your compassion. Practice empathy and try to understand others' perspectives and feelings, even if you disagree with them. Read and learn. Educate yourself about social issues, different cultures, and the history and future of humanity. This is a lifelong journey requiring patience and continuous effort. But according to Adler, it's the only path for us to truly overcome inferiority, find lasting happiness, and live a meaningful life. To further strengthen his argument about the importance of cooperation and social interest, Adler pointed out that life inherently presents us with three major unavoidable ties or tasks. Three life tasks that everyone must face, and how we approach these three tasks reflects our degree of cooperation and social interest. They are: 1. The task of occupation, work. We live on this planet with finite resources. We need to work, to labor, to survive, to support ourselves and our families, and to contribute to the functioning of society. This task demands cooperation. We need to cooperate with nature, using resources sustainably, and cooperate with colleagues, customers, and society to create value and sustain life. Someone lacking a cooperative spirit might struggle at work. They might be lazy, dependent, engage in unhealthy competition, fail to integrate into the team, or feel their work is meaningless because they don't see their contribution. The task of society friendship. We cannot live alone like islands. We constantly interact and connect with those around us: family, friends, neighbors, community. This task clearly requires a high degree of cooperation. How to build and maintain good relationships, how to communicate effectively, how to resolve conflicts, and how to coexist harmoniously. Someone lacking a cooperative spirit will face numerous difficulties in relationships. They might be lonely, find it hard to make friends, frequently cause conflicts, not know how to share or empathize, or always feel insecure and suspicious of others. 3. The task of love, marriage. This represents the most intimate and profound form of cooperation. It involves building a close bond with another person, sharing life, and often continuing the species. This task demands the highest level of cooperation, understanding, sacrifice, and commitment. Two people need to build together, nurture the relationship, face difficulties together, and move towards a shared future. Someone lacking a cooperative spirit often fails in love and marriage. They might be selfish, inconsiderate of their partner, fear commitment, be controlling, excessively demanding, leading to breakdowns and suffering. Adler emphasized that these three tasks are not separate but interconnected. How we handle one task often influences how we handle the others. And the common denominator for successfully navigating all three is an individual's capacity for cooperation and their level of developed social interest. A person with a good cooperative spirit who cares about others will generally be more successful in their work, social relationships, and love marriage. They find balance and meaning in life. Conversely, someone who fails to develop their cooperative abilities will face compounding difficulties across all three areas, leading to feelings of dissatisfaction, suffering, and a sense that life is meaningless. Even for those who choose to remain single, Adler suggested that this decision often relates to the task of cooperation. It might stem from insecurity, fear of intimacy, or personal complexes that make close relationships difficult, reflecting a challenge in cooperating at the deepest level. Thus, cultivating a spirit of cooperation and aiming for the common good isn't just a lofty moral ideal. According to Adler, it's the practical and necessary path to confront and successfully resolve the unavoidable challenges of life. We've talked a lot about inferiority, cooperation, and the meaning of life. But how can we truly understand where we stand on this journey? How do we know what hidden feelings of inferiority might influence us and our level of cooperation? Adler introduced a fascinating concept called the style of life. This isn't just about your fashion sense or hobbies. For Adler, the style of life is the unique, holistic pattern of core beliefs, attitudes, goals, and methods an individual uses to approach life and its three major tasks: work, society, and love. It's like an unconscious map or compass guiding our thoughts, feelings, and actions. What's astonishing is Adler's belief that this style of life is formed very early, typically by the age of 4 or 5. Our earliest experiences, how we interpret them, and the often unconscious conclusions we draw about ourselves, others, and the world shape this lifestyle, which tends to stay with us throughout life. It sounds like Freud's determinism, but there's a crucial difference. Adler believed that while the style of life forms early, we can recognize and change it if we choose to. We are not prisoners of our past. The reason many people don't change isn't because they can't, but because they don't want to. Change means facing uncertainty, giving up the secondary gains, like attention or pity, the old lifestyle might provide. And that requires courage. So, how can we uncover our own style of life, especially the aspects related to inferiority and cooperation? Adler proposed a unique method, analyzing our earliest childhood memories. He believed that what we choose to remember from early childhood, even if it seems random, often reflects the core beliefs and attitudes of our current lifestyle. It doesn't matter if the memory is perfectly accurate. What matters is how we remember it and its associated feelings. Try closing your eyes for a moment. Relax and let your mind drift back to your earliest years. What image or event first comes to mind? Is it a happy or sad memory? How did you feel in that memory? Who else was there? What was your relationship with them like? The memory of getting lost, the feeling of abandonment, the expectations, and later blame directed at the mother. It might reflect a lifestyle prone to feeling victimized, needing attention, or having insecurities related to safety and connection. Realizing this helps understand later reactions and provides an opportunity for change. Memory of caring for sister. A positive memory of connection, responsibility, and the joy of caring for another. It reflects a positive lifestyle, showing that cooperation and love were nurtured. Every memory, happy or sad, is a piece of the puzzle revealing the picture of your style of life. Try this exercise yourself. 1. Recall 3 to 5 of your earliest memories. 2. Write them down in as much detail as possible. What happened? Where were you? Who was with you? What did you feel? What did you do? 3. Reflect on these memories. What do they suggest about how you see yourself? Strong, weak, loved, abandoned? Thanks. What do they suggest about how you see others? Trustworthy, scary, needing help? What do they suggest about how you see the world? Safe, dangerous, exciting? Are there recurring themes, e.g., always feeling lonely, always trying to please others, always wanting to lead? Do these memories relate to any current difficulties or successes in your life? This isn't a right or wrong test, nor does it replace professional therapy if you're facing serious issues. But it's a powerful self-discovery tool, helping you identify patterns in your thinking and behavior, especially those related to inferiority and cooperation, which were formed early on. Understanding the roots is the first step towards choosing to change and build a healthier, more meaningful style of life. If the style of life and the capacity for cooperation are formed so early, then clearly the family and educational environments play an incredibly crucial role in shaping these factors. Adler placed particular emphasis on the responsibility of parents and teachers in fostering a spirit of cooperation and social interest in children. The role of the family. Adler viewed the family as the first and most important school for cooperation. From the very moment a mother holds her newborn, the first cooperation begins. Genuine love and connection. How parents hold, care for, and talk to their child with genuine love, not just out of duty, helps the child feel safe and trusting, and forms the foundation for later connection abilities. A mother who truly loves her children and enjoys caring for them transmits a positive sense of cooperation. Conversely, if parents constantly complain or are irritable while caring for the child, feeling it's a burden hindering their own lives, the child will struggle to learn cooperation joyfully. Cooperative relationship between parents. Children learn by observing. If parents respect each other, share responsibilities, and resolve conflicts constructively, the child learns a healthy cooperation model. Conversely, if the father is always authoritarian and controlling, or the mother constantly nags and dominates, the child learns distorted patterns of relationships and cooperation. For example, boys learn defensiveness and fear of criticism. Girls learn controlling behaviors or submission. Avoiding over-pampering and possessiveness. As mentioned, pampering prevents children from learning effort and cooperation. Additionally, expressing love in possessive ways like "you are my everything" and "mommy lives only for you" can turn love into ownership. The child thinks the parent belongs solely to them and uses tactics, crying, whining, bedwetting, to demand attention and possess the parent. Growing up, they easily become self-centered and selfish and struggle with equal cooperation. Encouragement instead of excessive criticism or praise. Adler advocated for encouragement, recognizing the child's effort and progress, helping them believe in their abilities. This differs from praise, which focuses on results or inherent traits. "You're so smart," potentially making the child dependent on external validation or afraid of failure. Harsh criticism obviously destroys confidence and the motivation to cooperate. Involving children in shared tasks. Give children age-appropriate opportunities to participate in household chores, care for younger siblings, if any, or join family activities. This helps them feel valuable and responsible and learn how to contribute to the common good. The role of school education. School is the second crucial socializing environment after the family, where children continue to learn and practice cooperation skills. Adler hoped for a revolution in education, where teachers could truly focus on individual students and compensate for shortcomings from home. While reality presents challenges, the teacher's role remains vital. Avoiding harshness and excessive punishment. Fear does not create genuine cooperation. It only produces superficial obedience or hidden resentment. Teachers need to create a safe, trusting classroom environment where students dare to express opinions and make mistakes. Equal dialogue and genuine care. Bending down to the child's eye level, listening, understanding, and caring for each student from the heart. Paying attention not just to grades, but to the student's overall development and future. Focusing on strengths and encouragement. Instead of only focusing on mistakes, identify and nurture each child's strengths and talents. Help them believe in their own value and ability to contribute. When a child understands their own worth, they are more likely to treat others fairly and know how to cooperate. Absolutely avoid saying, "You're very smart but lazy/not trying." This seemingly tactful phrase is very harmful. It subtly implants the idea, if I'm already smart, why bother trying? It triggers a false sense of superiority and prevents the child from overcoming laziness. Instead, encourage effort. I see you put a lot of effort into this part. If you spend a little more time, the result could be even better. According to Adler, the true task of parents and educators is not just imparting knowledge or skills, but more importantly, sowing the seeds and nurturing the spirit of cooperation, concern for the community, and healthy self-confidence in the future generation. This is the most solid foundation for children to overcome inferiority, face life's challenges, and build a better society. So we've journeyed together through the core, profound ideas of Alfred Adler in what life should mean to you. As I mentioned at the beginning, and as many readers noted, this isn't easy. Adler's language can sometimes be quite academic, and the psychological concepts require focus and careful thought. Many people might feel a bit vague or find it hard to apply immediately after a first reading. However, I believe the immense value of this book lies in its ability to go straight to the essence of common psychological issues most of us face: feelings of inadequacy, the need for recognition, difficulties in relationships, and the search for life's meaning. Adler doesn't just describe symptoms. He traces the roots of these problems back to childhood, to how we form our style of life, and crucially, he points towards the path for healing and growth. Through nurturing a spirit of cooperation and social interest, many popular self-help books that came later, like The Courage to Be Disliked, or books on positive parenting and building strong relationships, are actually deeply influenced by Adler's thought. Reading those applied books first might make Adler's ideas more accessible. But if you truly want to understand why those methods work, going back to the source of Adler's thought in what life should mean to you is invaluable. It provides a solid theoretical foundation and a holistic and consistent view of human psychology. As one Goodreads user wrote, "This is not a book you read once and put away. This is a book you need to ponder, reflect upon, and revisit multiple times throughout your life. Each rereading reveals new layers of meaning, a deeper understanding of yourself and the world." Or another comment, "Adler gave me a completely new lens through which to view my struggles. Instead of feeling like a victim, I realized I have the power to choose my responses and create meaning in my life through connection and contribution." Of course, some might argue that certain aspects of Adler's views are a bit idealistic or difficult to apply in today's complex society. But I think his core principles about the importance of cooperation, compassion, and moving beyond the self-centered ego to live for the community remain timelessly relevant. We read many books on our personal development journey and learn many methods. But what is the common thread that most great teachers and philosophies point towards? It's the encouragement to open our hearts, develop compassion and love, live altruistically, and know how to give. Erich Fromm spoke of love as an art, an act of giving. Viktor Frankl emphasized finding meaning even in suffering, often through dedication to a cause greater than oneself. Stephen Covey talked about shifting to an abundance mentality to achieve win-win cooperation. And many Eastern philosophies, like Buddhism, stress compassion and non-self. With his individual psychology, Adler provided a profound psychological explanation for why living for others cooperatively is the path to true happiness and development. He showed that the root of unhappiness and psychological disturbance often lies in deficiencies in cooperation and social interest, stemming from unresolved feelings of inferiority from childhood. So what's the final message I want us to take away from this book today? Life is short and fragile. We constantly face challenges in work, in relationships, in love. We always feel not quite enough, striving to improve. That's natural. But remember Adler's crucial insight. Only when our struggle is carried out in a spirit of cooperation with others, directed towards the common good, is that struggle filled with hope and meaning. Don't let feelings of inferiority drown you in negativity, blame, or avoidance. Don't let them turn you into a falsely arrogant person, always needing to prove yourself. See the feeling of inferiority as a signal, an invitation to strive for self-improvement, and most importantly, choose the right path for improvement. Turn outwards, connect with people, and find ways to contribute your value, however small, to the community. As Albert Einstein said, a person's value should be seen in what they give and not in what they are able to receive. Let inferiority be your starting point, fueling your journey towards becoming superior. A superiority not about being better than others, but about becoming the best version of yourself. A person capable of love, cooperation, and living for something larger than yourself. So, we've explored together the incredibly valuable messages from Alfred Adler's book, What Life Should Mean to You. Through our discussion today, I hope you've gained some fresh perspectives to understand yourself better, navigate those sometimes complex inner emotions, and most importantly, find inspiration to live a more meaningful, more connected life. The journey of overcoming inferiority and building a cooperative spirit isn't an overnight process. It requires patience, courage, and daily practice. But please believe that you are absolutely capable of doing it. What are your thoughts on Adler's ideas? Do you see yourself in the concepts of inferiority or superiority complexes? What early childhood memories came to mind for you? And what steps do you plan to take to enhance cooperation and contribute to the community around you? Please don't hesitate to share your thoughts and feelings in the comments section below. BookSmart Insights would love to hear from you and learn from your stories. Your sharing is also a form of contribution and cooperation. If you found this video helpful and valuable, please give BookSmart Insights a like to show your support. It really helps. And if you're not already part of our community, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos sharing insights from great books. Your subscription is a fantastic way to support us in continuing to create quality content. Please share this video with your loved ones and people you think might also benefit from these messages on their personal development path. Once again, thank you so much for your time, for listening, and for being a part of BookSmart Insights. May you always find joy, peace, and meaning on your chosen path. Remember, you have value and the power to make a difference. Goodbye for now, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.